Hello everyone, this is Genius Yoshi, and today we're playing some Lorcana, and we're gonna be playing with Moana. Moana is a 5-drop, and her ability is that whenever she quests, you can ready other princess characters, but they can't quest for the rest of the turn. So if they can't quest, they can stay in ready, or they can go challenge some other characters. Therefore, we're gonna be labeling this deck as Battle Princesses, because they're gonna quest, they're going to challenge, both in the same turn. So Moana being the centerpiece, we need some princesses. So what are the princesses we have? We can play the 5-drop Aurora as a 3/5, basically battle princess. She also quests for 2, and she gives your other characters ward. Also, she can shift. So you can play her on turn 3 as long as you have a smaller Aurora to play. And we have a small Aurora that has been spoiled, which is this Aurora Regal Princess. Just a 2/2 for 2, quests for 2, so she can quest relatively aggressively. Then we have another Aurora, which is this one. Aurora Briar Rose. Aurora Briar Rose is actually a 2/5 for 4, and she only quests for 1, but when you play her into play, one of the opponent's character, or one character, but you want to target your opponent's character with it, will get -2 combat power for the turn. And this ability goes really well with Moana's ability to ready our princesses, since we get a quest. Say we have a little 2-drop Aurora, we get a quest with her, 2 lore in the bank. Then Moana activates her ability, she quests, this Aurora becomes ready, we play bigger Aurora, get an opponent's character to have less power, and then we can send smaller Aurora in to deal some damage without getting banished immediately. To complete our princesses, we're also playing Jasmine, who's just a 3/3 with quest 2, as well as Minnie Mouse, who's just a 2/3 quests for 1. So now we have 2 2-drops, 1 3-drop, 1 4, a pair of 5s. So what else can we include? Well, with Moana and Minnie Mouse, as well as all the Auroras, we're definitely playing Amber Sapphire. So what else is there? Well, there's Maximus, the Warhorse. Actually, Relentless Pursuer. 3/3 for 3, quests for 1, has a very similar ability to our 4-drop Aurora here, where whenever you play the character, chosen character gets -2 power until end of turn. So we have a lot of redundancy between Aurora and Maximus to gain more advantage from readying our princesses and getting them challenging in the same turn. Now we have 7 cards so far, and this is the point at which I will say that I will be playing 40-card decks in order to have a consistent deck and a consistent strategy, so I don't have to play whatever is spoiled right now. As we are early in spoiler season, only so many cards have been spoiled, and that forces us to be playing with proxies. I highly encourage you to buy the official product once it gets released. I certainly will. So we have 3 more cards that we need 4 copies of to finish our list. We'll be playing Develop Your Brain as the 1-drop. Just look through your deck. Well, actually, look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Put one in your hand and the other one in the bottom of your deck. It's good card selection. It's a card that can go in your ink pool, since all the cards we've had so far can go in the ink pool. In the same way, we'll play Let It Go, which is a removal spell for 5. A little bit expensive, but you can actually sing it. And when you sing Let It Go, you must actually sing Let It Go, Let It Go. And then your opponent's going to look unhappily at you, or weirdly, whichever way your opponent prefers. But you will get to banish one of their character face down into their inkwell. So it's not as good as Dragonfire into just straight banish. You're giving 1 ink to your opponent, but it's a card that can be sung. So if you have Big Aurora or Moana in play, you can actually sing it for 5, and you don't have to spend your ink this turn to play that card. And then to wrap out our list, we'll have Hades, who's just a solid card. A 3/2 allows you to fetch one of your characters from your discard pile, add it back into your hand. Quest for 1 helps you to get back your Moana, get back your Maximus. Just solid value in a card. And that's the list for Battle Princesses. So next, let's see this deck in action with some games. Let's get things started with game 1, now that the decks are all shuffled up. First off, let's roll and see who goes first, whether it's the Battle Princesses with a 4 or the Aladdin deck with a 3. Battle Princesses will win. If you are interested in seeing the deck list for the Aladdin deck, please look into my channel, subscribe while you're there, and take a look at the Aladdin deck list. There's also a fun gameplay video that's associated with it. So we have a pair of Auroras, actually 3 small Auroras, 1 Develop Your Brain, a Hades, and a pair of Let It Goes. It's too early for Let It Goes. I don't really want Develop Your Brain at this point, don't really want the Hades, so I think I'm just going to keep an Aurora and send everything back, hoping to get a better curve. Actually, we have nothing to play on 1, so let's keep Develop Your Brain. There's no harm in that. And we probably don't want to draw that too many smaller Auroras later in the game. So let's keep 1, send 4 back, and we draw Maximus, big Aurora, and another small Aurora. Well, at least now we have a better curve. We have the 1, 2, 3, where in 3 we get to play either Maximus or shift our big Aurora onto the smaller Aurora. That's a lot of Auroras. Let's see what our opponent gets. Opponent gets Goofy, Mickey, Dragonfire, another Mickey, a smaller one, Aladdin, Donald, and a Dragonfire. The Dragonfires are going to go into the deck. Aladdin's nice, and then there's a 2-3 curve going on here, which is pretty solid. Our opponent really wants to find a small Aladdin, so Goofy's going to go back in the deck with the Dragonfires, trying to dig for Aladdin, for the smaller Aladdin, without sacrificing the good curve. There's a Jumba Jakiba, Cheshire Cat, and another Aladdin. Alright. As our opponent shuffles the mulligan cards back into their deck. Alright. So we get to go first. And first, we're going to send an Aurora into the ink pool. And for 1, we're going to develop our brain. Develop your brain. Let's see what we get. Look at the top 2 cards. And then we pick either Jasmine or Minnie. I think we'll pick Jasmine, giving us a bit more options on turn 3, putting Minnie back to the bottom of our deck. And that is the end of our turn. Pass the turn back to our opponent. Opponent draws the 2-drop Aladdin. A very good top deck. Plays a Mickey in the ink pool and ends their turn. Turn passes back to us. We draw another Maximus. 3 Maximuses are too many Maximuses. The maximum Maximuses that I want is probably 2. As we'll settle for an Aurora on turn 2. So small Aurora hits the battlefield and we pass the turn back. Opponent draws a Mulan. Opponent doesn't necessarily want all these Aladdins, although there's a nice bit of 3-drop action going on here. Cheshire Cat and Mickey Mouse. But Aladdin will go in the ink pool, and Donald is going to go on the battlefield. Or I'm not sure how the space is going to be called. Magical Castle? Something not as scary as Battlefield. But for now, Challenging Ground. Yes, I like Challenging Ground. We'll see whatever they name it in the rules. Turn passes back to us. That Donald is a big deterrent for us questing with Aurora. So at this point, shifting the big Aurora is quite interesting. But I think we just want more pressure and play Jasmine. So the small Aurora is going to go in the ink pool. And for 3, we're going to play Jasmine. Then we'll pass the turn back to our opponent. Opponent draws. That's another duck. The duck is going to go straight to the ink pool. And for 3, I think it's Mickey Mouse. Just trying to keep the board under control, preventing us from questing with Jasmine as well, as that Mickey Mouse is a fairly strong character with the 3/4 stats. Turn passes back to us. We draw Hades. Nice 4-drop. So we are going to ink one of our Maximus. And at this point, we don't have anything in our discard pile to play Hades. So it would be a waste to play it. We don't have anything to challenge the trade. And playing Maximus feels like a waste. So let's shift big Aurora on top of our smaller Aurora. And then we can quest with both her and Jasmine. Questing for 4. Why do I quest Jasmine? Because I want a card in my discard pile so I can get it back with Hades. Also, it's going to give us an opportunity to actually play Maximus, to weaken the Mickey Mouse and take it out. So we'll pass the turn back to our opponent. Opponent readies. Draws a Goofy. So now our opponent can play Small Aladdin. There's too many 5-drops in here. So Goofy's going to go in the ink pool. And the opponent's going to pay 2 for Small Aladdin. And now does the opponent take out Aurora or Jasmine? I think Jasmine. They both quest for the same amount. So Mickey can challenge Jasmine. Jasmine goes out. Mickey takes 3. And Donald can quest. Because why not? Turn passes back to us. We draw another Hades. Hades would allow us to pick up our Jasmine from the discard pile, but we have a better play. For now, we'll play a card in our ink pool and play a second copy of the big Aurora. I guess the Maximus plan just went through the window. At this point, we should be fearing the big Aladdin. But it's quite tempting to simply quest with Aurora or take down Donald. Actually, there's no point in taking down Donald or Mickey, because they would both need to challenge Aurora to trade. So we'll quest with Aurora and pass the turn back. Never underestimate the power of questing for 2. Opponent draws a Donald, which goes into the hand. I think Jumba goes into the ink pool because Donald Cheshire Cat is actually a good pressure play. Everything needs to be ready. 5 ink to shift big Aladdin onto the small Aladdin. And this one is quite dangerous. So Aladdin is going to challenge Aurora. Aurora goes down. Aladdin takes 3 points of damage. But we lose 2 lore and our opponent gains 2 lore. Very effective attack. Or very effective at challenging on their turn, that Aladdin. And since we're probably going to have to challenge Aladdin, opponent quests for 2. Just applying pressure with the weaker characters now. Turn passes back to us. We draw. Develop your brain. At this point in our discard pile, we have small Aurora, Jasmine, and big Aurora. Opponent has 3 cards in hand. Oh, we're going to have to play Hades. Our curve does end at 5. So let's go develop your brain. Let's look at those cards and see if there's anything quite interesting. So there's a Let It Go and there's an Aurora. We can sing Let It Go. I think that's what we'll want to do. Send Aurora to the back of our deck. The bottom. So I don't want to lose Aurora, but we really need to deal with that Aladdin. So we'll Let It Go. And Aladdin, actually both Aladdins will go into the ink pool. That is quite unfortunate. We've just fed our opponent a lot of ink, and that's the ruling on shift. All of the cards in that shift pile go to our opponent's ink pool. Then for 4, we'll play Hades and recover back another Princess Aurora. And on that, we'll pass it back to our opponent, as we are out of ink to play for this turn. Opponent's on 7 ink, thanks to our Let It Go. Draws a Goofy. So on that point, opponent could trade with our Aurora, but there's no good advantage to it, since both of these characters, we don't have any good challenges on them, so they can safely quest. The good challenges they have on us is a good challenge for them. So there is no point in Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck really challenging Aurora and trading, because it's going to take me quite a bit of time to challenge them with Aurora. And since our opponent is in the lead, I guess they're going to pay 5 for Goofy and pay 2 for Donald, making use of that extra ink from Let It Go. Turn passes back to us, still on 5 ink with Aurora and Hades in play. We draw another Develop Your Brain. I think at this point we need to start applying a bit more pressure to our opponent. So let's put Develop Your Brain in the ink pool. Let's go Hades, picking up the small Aurora from our discard pile, then putting her into play. Hades just picking stuff back up from our discard. And that's 6. Then Hades is not worth that much in terms of a threat, so we might as well take out Mickey. Take out Mickey, slow down our opponent, and Aurora can quest for 2, so we definitely want to quest Aurora, not to fall too far behind. Turn passes back to our opponent, who's on 7 ink, 2 cards in hand, making that 3 with a Dragon's Fire. Ooh, that one's gonna hurt. So the opponent will Dragon's Fire our Aurora, who's just taking 2 lore every turn. Opponent quests for 4. Since we don't have any meaningful threat on the board, the opponent will take the tempo and move towards winning that game. Turn passes back to us. Now we're on 6. We draw Develop Your Brain. So we're going to play it. Looking 2 cards deep into our library, finding a Moana. We will take that Moana, namesake of our deck. Queen of the Princesses. We're going to play Moana. And now Small Aurora's in bad position to quest, because the Donalds will just challenge her. So we'll probably want to make use of Moana's ability to ready her immediately after. Hades just wants to slow things down. We'll challenge Donald. Take it down to the graveyard. Discard pile. Pile of cards that are unusable but Hades can fetch. Or however you want to name it. As we pass the turn back to our opponent, who draws Mickey Mouse, the tailor. Now that's a card I don't recommend playing because of the high ink cost, but in this particular scenario, our opponent gets to 8 because of Let It Go. So Mickey Mouse enters the fray, and now we are in trouble, my friends. Opponent double quests, going up to 14, and there's 6 evasive on the board for our opponent. Turn passes back to us, and it's all but lights out. So we find a Jasmine, but we cannot deal with the power of the mouse. Since we can do it, we're going to quest Aurora, quest Moana, go to 11, which readies Aurora, and Aurora is going to not do anything. We'll play Aurora, pass the turn. Opponent draws, quest with the evasives, and that's 20. That's the end of game 1, with Aladdin taking the first game over the Battle Princesses. Let's go for game number 2. And we're going to go first again with the princesses. We've seen a lot of the big Aurora in the last game. And just playing 3 fives with questing 2 and no other abilities is, well, not quite good enough to win the game. So let's see what we can muster this time. We have a Minnie, an Aurora, a Moana, and a Hades. So kind of a nice curve going on here. Let's try to keep the battle type curve with Minnie, Maximus, Moana, 1 Let It Go. We can keep the small Aurora to ink her, and we'll send 80s and Let It Go back into the deck. We draw Maximus and Jasmine, which is pretty decent. You have a 2-3-5 curve with Moana this time, right on time. Let's see what our opponent draws. Opponent has Jumba Jacuba, Dragon, Fire, Mulan, Donald, Goofy, and another Goofy. So that Dragon Fire is going to go straight into the deck, and there's also way too many 5-drops in here. So the Donald is good, but our opponent really wants to play Aladdin's. So Donald will stay for safety, and the rest is going to go back. Opponent draws Big Mickey, Aladdin, small, well, medium-sized Mickey, Goofy, Cheshire Cat, and another Big Mickey. So these Mickeys are going to go straight in the ink pool. Opponent has a 2-3-5 curve. So I'd say both decks are equally matched to begin this duel. So we go first. And the first thing we do is ink our 2-drop Aurora. As I'll pass the turn back to our opponent. Opponent draws Dragon Fire. Mickey goes to the ink pool. Opponent ends their turn. Princesses go back. There's a Jasmine. Jasmine will go into the ink pool. And for 2, we're going to be playing a Minnie Mouse. Just the 2-3 little princess. Good combat stats for 2-drop. Opponent draws Donald. Opponent does not need 2 Donalds. Second copy goes into the ink pool. And Donald Duck enters the battlefield. Donald Duck is essentially the same thing as Minnie Mouse, just a 2-3 who quests for 1. Except that Donald Duck is not a princess, so we much favor Minnie Mouse, who's in our colors anyways. We draw another Maximus. 3 Maximuses is too many Maximuses. That was established in game number 1, so we're going to put it into our ink pool. And for 3, we get to play Jasmine. Minnie Mouse is going to quest. And we'll pass the turn back. Opponent draws Big Aladdin. Number 2. Mickey Mouse goes in the ink pool for 3. Opponent sees us on Princess. With Donald, opponent wants to pressure. So Mickey Mouse, the 3-4, enters the battlefield, trying to keep our Jasmine at bay. She has to stay in the castle. As they say, they never let her come out of the palace. Well, that's what Mickey Mouse here is doing right now. You're not going on your quest. So you draw for a turn. Drawing a Develop Your Brain. I kind of want to keep the Maximuses. Let's just put Develop Your Brain in the ink pool. And pay 3 for Maximus. because we don't want to waste our turn. And we will quest with Jasmine. We'll bait Mickey Mouse. No, not right now. There's no reason. It's tempting though. But we want to have as many princesses in play for when we play Moana. Well, let's just pass the turn back. See what happens. Opponent draws another Mickey, goes straight in the ink pool. And for 4, our opponent doesn't have anything spectacular, just a Cheshire Cat. So a bit of pressure. Now our opponent knows Mickey Mouse is a bad trade for us. So opponent quests with Mickey, going up to 1. At least that's what I would do if I wouldn't see the second Maximus in my hand. Because, well, if Maximus or Jasmine want to take it out, then they would have to both trade. And that would be a terrible, terrible trade. So we draw Minnie. On this, we know we want to play the Maximus this turn. So I would be tempted to put the Let It Go in the ink pool and double spell Maximus and Minnie. Especially since our opponent doesn't have a good way to threaten any of our creatures once that Mickey Mouse is out. So yeah, let's ink Let It Go. 3 for Maximus. Trigger. Mickey Mouse, you have 2 less power until the end of turn. So Mickey Mouse is now a 1/4. Meaning that Maximus will challenge and Minnie will challenge. I want to keep my 2 lore quester alive as much as possible. So we take out Mickey Mouse. Jasmine will quest. We go up to 3. And for whatever ink we have left, we'll play a second copy of Minnie Mouse. Passing the turn back to our opponent. Opponent draws a Jumba. At this point, the opponent will ink an Aladdin and play Jumba. Just a big beater on the battlefield to try and keep it under control. Keep the princesses at bay by showing us this weird slimy invention. Now Donald will want to trade against the bigger creature. Donald wants to fight Minnie. Yes, of course. Because Donald lives and Minnie is banished. And the Cheshire Cat will quest for 2. Because that's what it does. Maybe I should have challenged with Jasmine so that we had the trade with Donald guaranteed last turn. But keeping Jasmine alive and questing is also a powerful move. Questing for 2 is pretty strong. And it's back to us. We draw Big Princess Aurora yet again. This time, well, we have the same trade mechanic as last time where Minnie can trade with Donald. Well, not trade actually, just fight off Donald, take the 2 points of damage. Donald's banished. We'll play 5 to play Moana. Our 1/6 that readies our princesses. And I think we kind of want to race here. Taking out the Cheshire Cat's interesting. Especially with this Maximus that already has taken some damage. Yeah, let's fight, challenge the Cheshire Cat. Maximus gets exiled, so does the cat. Cat was questing for 2 and we were questing for 1. Now we might as well quest. Questing for 3. Gotta get that questing number up. And we were gonna lose Minnie to combat anyways. Turn passes back to our opponent. Opponent draws Mulan. Opponent really wants to play that Aladdin. So I think we want to guarantee it. So Goofy in the ink pool. Now on 6. Dragonfire is going to take out our Moana. Just burn, baby, burn. as the Dragon Fire lands on Moana. It's a shame we didn't really get to activate her abilities, but that it is what it is. Jumba is going to fight Jasmine, taking 3 points of damage, and we lose our 2 lore quester. Turn passes back to us. We ready. We draw. Develop your brain. Not quite what we want right now. We want more stuff. So play Big Aurora. Minnie will trade with Jumba. And we will quest for 1 with Maximus. Up to 7. And pass the turn back. Opponent draws another Dragon Fire. But this time, it's time for Aladdin. 7 drop. Thankfully this time, Aladdin is not shifted, so Aladdin can't attack or challenge us. Are you ready? We draw a 2-drop Aurora, not what we were looking for, so it's time to develop our brains. We see another develop your brain or a Hades. Hades is quite interesting here, especially since we have 4 lore open. I'm tempted to say let's race that Aladdin, but we can't race an Aladdin because Aladdin will keep on lowering our lore. The other option is to develop our brain and try to land a Let It Go, which I think is what we want to do. Send a Hades to the bottom. Develop our brains again. Looking at the top 2 cards, we find Aurora and Moana. So we're going to be keeping Moana, sending Aurora back to the bottom. And then for 2, we're going to be playing the small Aurora. And I don't think we can quest. Aladdin fighting Aurora is too much for us to take. Maybe we can quest with Maximus. Beating the challenge from Aladdin, and then we just pass. Pass the turn back. We don't want Aladdin to start challenging our characters. Opponent draws a Mickey Mouse. Opponent will Dragon Fire our Aurora, just dealing with our biggest threat. And Aladdin quest, and it becomes a 1-on-1, and the opponent only has Mickey Mouse. So I think Aladdin just stays ready, just trying to establish a control over that board. Turn passes back to us. Draw the big Aurora, and we play Moana. And we pass the turn back because we don't want Aladdin to start challenging our creatures. Goofy. But now Moana is a big threat. So our opponent needs to start trading because we'll just otherwise keep our small Aurora ready. So opponent will quest with Aladdin going up to 5. Moana changes things. Goofy comes out. Another evasive threat, and the turn passes back to the princesses. We draw a small Aurora. It's tempting to just quest with small Aurora, Maximus, quest with Moana. And then, yeah, that's what we do. So we quest for 2. Go up to 9. We quest with Moana for 3. Go up to 12. Ready small Aurora. And while Aladdin is tapped out, we're going to trade our board for it. Trading the small Aurora and the Maximus. Main reason is we don't want our opponent to have Goofy attack Moana and then Aladdin take out Moana. The opponent would exchange 2 lores. And if they do that, and Aladdin is still living on 4, which is a bad number for me to take out because we still need Aurora and Maximus, we'd be in a lot of trouble. So Moana's ability gave us 2 lore so far, plus the actual questing. Questing for 3 is actually quite a big deal. Gonna play 5 for Big Aurora, strengthening our board position, passing the turn back to our opponent who draws a second Mickey. Both Mickeys are going to enter the battlefield. Goofy is going to attempt to take out Moana because it's just too much. 3 points of damage on Moana, 1 on Goofy. Last turn passes back to us. Goofy has evasives. Unfortunately, our Moana will not be able to take it down. We obviously quest with Aurora, quest with Moana. 1, 2, 3. Going all the way up to 17, readying Aurora. And then we play everything we have. Small Aurora as well as Minnie Mouse. And the power of Moana is, well, the questing for 3 is doing quite a lot. And the 6 willpower, being ahead in tempo, is giving us a huge advantage here. And the opponent cannot take down Aurora, pretty much guaranteeing our win this turn. Unless our opponent draws, double Dragonfire in 1 draw. It's a small Aladdin. I don't think our opponent had an answer. Goofy will challenge Moana, taking her down. Or actually, Mickey should challenge Moana. Goofy should quest for 2, quest for 1. Turn passes back. We draw. We quest for 5. And we win game number 2 using the Battle Princesses, taking down some of the bigger threats that our opponent could play, including an Aladdin, without having to let it go. Let's go for game number 3, the tiebreaker between our Battle Princesses and the Aladdin deck. Let's see what we get. Moana right off the bat. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Lots of expensive cards. No 2 drops to be seen. Hades, big Aurora will go back into our library, our deck. We can keep the 3, 4, 5, I think. Jasmine, actually we are on the draw, so let's take Maximus. Let's send these ones back and draw 4. Taking the more defensive card as we hit, not a single 2 drop to be seen. This is going to be a slow start. Opponent playing the Aladdin deck will go first. Pair of big Aladdins, Mickey, Mulan, small Aladdin, big Aladdin, Cheshire Cat. The small Aladdin, big Aladdin will stick. Mickey Mouse is fine for a bit of pressure. And that is it. The rest will go back to the deck. One draws 4 more. Dragonfire, Goofy, Donald, and another Goofy. As the rest of the cards will get shuffled in. And our opponent goes first this time. Now, first things first. Goofy into the ink pool, and the turn passes to us. That's a lucky draw. 2 drop Aurora. Ready to Aurora. As we will play, all the Moanas are nice. So we're going to play Aurora, the 4 drop, into our ink pool. And we might as well play the Develop Your Brain. Oops, I forgot to shuffle those in. As our 2 options are Aurora or Minnie. Let's keep the Minnie. Send Aurora back to the bottom of our deck. And we'll pass the turn back to our opponent. One draws a big Aladdin. That is too much, so it's going to go in the ink pool. Small Aladdin will enter the battlefield. Turn passes back to us. Another Develop Your Brain, this time is going to go into our ink pool. Our hand's actually pretty good as is. Going to play Minnie Mouse. Prevent that Aladdin from doing anything too dangerous. We'll pass the turn back. Jumba, Jacuba. Opponent will play Goofy in the ink pool. And Mickey Mouse will come in. Turn passes back to us. Have some combat gameplay now with a Maximus. Actually, we have a pair of Maximuses, so we'll send one into the ink pool. And we'll just play a Maximus. It'd be nice to get rid of that Mickey Mouse. And we do have pretty much the 2/5 Aurora coming in the next turn. So we might as well quest with Minnie. Get a bit of lore. Bait our opponent into that challenge. We'll pass the turn back. Opponent draws a Dragonfire number 2. Donald Duck goes into the ink pool, and our opponent is starved for play. Yeah, still thinking that. So opponent will quest with Mickey. No, actually, the opponent should ink Jumba. Because Aladdin's coming in on 5 and then Dragonfire. So let's play the Donald. Mickey's going to challenge Minnie. And their encounter doesn't end well for Minnie, as she hits the bin. Turn passes back to us. Aladdin is not questing. We find a Jasmine. I think we send Jasmine into the ink pool. Sorry, Jasmine. And then for 4, we get to play our Aurora, 2/5. That gives a character -2 power until end of turn. We'll target the Mickey Mouse, and Maximus is going to take it out. While taking a single point of damage. Pass the turn back to our opponent. Draws Cheshire Cat, goes in the ink pool, and our opponent is going to shift Aladdin on Aladdin, who is going to challenge Maximus. Oh, actually, Donald's going to challenge Maximus. There's no real point in taking damage on that Aladdin. Aladdin will quest. Turn passes back to us. We draw Jasmine. Now we want more princesses in play. So we are going to ink up a big Aurora. There's no way we're questing with this Aurora because Aladdin will challenge her and steal our lore. Instead we're going to go small Aurora and Jasmine. And we'll pass a turn back to our opponent. Opponent draws another Dragonfire. Opponent plays a Dragonfire. Targeting Jasmine, I guess. So that's the only thing our opponent can play. And Aladdin is still safe from being challenged to death. So opponent is gonna quest for 2. So we only have 4 power. We could double attack Aladdin and just lose our princesses, which does not sound like a good move. Hades comes in. Hades is nice. Well, not nice person or character. So we'll play Moana. Moana is a much nicer person. Character. Whichever you prefer. And I think we just pass the turn here. Because if we quest for 3, opponents can challenge Aurora and things don't end well. Little do we know that Dragonfire is awaiting us. Jumba comes in. Our opponent is going to Dragonfire our Moana, taking her off of the board. Aladdin will quest for 2. If it's working, keep doing what you're doing. Turn passes back to us. We draw Jasmine. I think we want to just play another Moana. And do we want to send Jasmine to the ink pool? Now let's wait until we draw 2-drop. And again, we can't really quest, and we can't really challenge, so we'll just pass the turn. Opponent draws Mulan, opponent dragon fires Moana. Yet again, same exchange. Opponent does not like our Moana. Quests for 2 with Aladdin, going up to 8. So as the board remains a little bit stale, our opponent just keeps on getting that questing value. Turn passes back to us. We draw. Develop your brain. That is tempting. Now Maximus could prevent Aladdin from questing too much. So we probably want to play Develop Your Brain. Look in top 2. Another Hades and a Minnie. I want a Maximus next turn. So I'm going to take the Minnie. I'm going to send Minnie to the ink pool. And then I'm going to play 4 for Hades. Hades will fetch me a Maximus. And now Maximus can actually threaten Aladdin. We just need to make sure that Aladdin remains exerted. So I think we apply some pressure. Quest for 3 with both Auroras going up to 4. Pass the turn back to our opponent, who has run out of Dragonfires. Mickey's gonna go in the ink pool, and the opponent is gonna play Jumba Jacuba for 5. Just a big fella. And now there's Aladdin and Jumba. Aladdin can finally do what he likes to do, which is challenge small Aurora, take her down, taking 2 points of damage as a result of that challenge. But we lose 2 lore, and our opponent gains 2 lore, putting us at 10-2. Turn passes back to us. We draw the big Aurora, the 5-drop, and as our plan wants, we go Maximus, reduce the power of Aladdin. Actually, it doesn't really matter. And Jasmine for 3. And we have to send Hades in to challenge Aladdin. And even though his power is reduced, it does not matter. These effects that reduce the power really haven't been paying off too much, because if we're going to be in a bad combat position, we're not going to be questing, which means our opponent's not going to be challenging. So we really want to use it on opponents challenging. The opportunities just haven't come up quite as well as I had originally imagined building this deck. Opponent draws a Donald. 3, 4, 5, 6. Opponent plays Mulan. Another dangerous threat hitting the battlefield. 4, 5, that increases the amount of lore that the other characters will gain. Jumba's going to quest, since our opponent is dangerously close to a victory at this point. And without the threat of a good combat from us. Turn passes back. We draw another Maximus. I just had to complain about Maximuses for one to show up just at the right time. So you get to play a Maximus, reducing the power of Jumba by 2. And then we'll send both of our 3-powered creatures against it. Or well, I guess we need to ask ourselves the question, do we want to shift Aurora? Because if we do, yeah, I have a 2-5, pair of 3/3s. Yeah, Jasmine's going to get taken out by Mulan. I do want to have something to play next turn, though. I think we want to shift Aurora. Then Jasmine and Maximus are both going to challenge the weakened Jumba, both taking 2 points of damage each, banishing Jumba. Thank you, Maximus, for that awesome ability. And then Aurora is free to quest since she was shifted. We go up to 4. A little slow, but it's better than later. Opponent draws Aladdin. Opponent can play Aladdin and Donald. And Mulan can quest or challenge. Opponent is at 12. Do we have a good attack on Mulan? Not really, we just have 3/3s. I guess that Aurora has a slightly more positive attack, but challenging one of our other characters does the same trick. Or does the opponent just keep the Mulan ready, and the next turn, as Mulan challenges, opponent can quest for 4? I don't think so. I think Mulan has to quest. I think it's slightly more effective. Turn passes back to us. Since we can... it's hard for us to challenge Mulan. We're so far behind. Well, it's hard for us to just quest and ignore Mulan, is what I meant. Because we're so far behind on lore with 4 to 13, we really need to take down some of these threats. And challenging Mulan is as effective for us as for our opponent. So our opponent just needs to wait for us. Oh yes, we've drawn another 5-drop Aurora. Might as well put her into play. Now we're going to lose 2 characters to that Mulan, so it might as well be Jasmine and Maximus. Or we can keep Aurora at 1 health. Yeah, let's do that. Aurora challenges Mulan. Takes 4. Maximus challenges Mulan. Maximus is banished, and so is Mulan. At this point, second Maximus will quest, and so will Jasmine. Since our opponent doesn't have any good trades, and we go up to 7. Passing the turn back to our opponent, who's now in top deck mode. Hitting a Mickey. Now the opponent can try to race us. But in this particular position, we have positive trades. So I think the opponent just challenges our 2 questers, trying to slow us down. Board kind of explodes here for a second. And turn passes back to us. And the game has just begun. Who's going to draw the biggest threats? Hades is a pretty good threat. Going through our options, you have a 2-drop Aurora that quests for 2, which is probably what we want, or a Minnie Mouse. Hades allowing us to pick back up a character from our discard pile. Since we have 2 ink opened, we can actually play our small Aurora and just have more questing power on the battlefield. We quest for 3. Trying to catch up, and we're all the way back up to 10, passing the turn back. Opponent draws Donald. Donald goes to the battlefield as a 2/3. Opponent will challenge Maximus, since Mickey will live. Maximus will not. Turn passes back to us. I don't think the opponent can just race us there. We draw a Minnie Mouse, so we will play a Minnie Mouse for 2. And then opponent really doesn't have any positive challenges, so we quest for 5 up to 15, threatening a lethal challenge. Passing the turn back. Opponent draws Aladdin for 2, plays it. Now the opponent needs to take out 2 of our questing power. So Donald will challenge Aurora, living and taking down Aurora. And Mickey will challenge Hades, just to reduce whatever we can do. Turn passes back to us. We draw small Aurora. And that's where all these questing 2 cards come into play, because we're in top deck mode and we're trading a lot of characters, but because a lot of our princesses quest for 2, we are in a very favorable position to win. So we quest up to 18, pass the turn back. Opponent draws Mickey, too little, too late. Opponent quests for 2, bringing the score closer as turn passes back, and Aurora's will win the game as we draw the third Aurora to complete the set. And that is Battle Combat Princesses in action against the Aladdin deck. I hope that you've enjoyed the games and back and forth, especially in game number 3 and all the cool action going on. If you did, please subscribe to the channel, as there's a lot more cool gameplay videos and nice deck ideas coming, especially as the real cards get released and as we get more spoilers. Again, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.